Hello and welcome back to Wake Up with Dr. Cheryl, Wealth Transformation. I'd like to start with something funny. Amazing that the amount of news that happens in the world every day always just exactly fits the newspaper and the web page. The Wealth Transformation Movement is for healing the relationship with money and wealth from a mental, conscious, and unconscious awareness, heartfelt and spiritual level healing, and ultimately with unconditional love. When you are discontent, you always want more, more, more. Your desire can never be satisfied. But when you practice contentment, you can say to yourself, "Oh yes, I already have everything I really need," by the Dalai Lama. Okay, well, I'm going off script here. A few weeks ago, and I always talk about financial situations and especially ethics. A few weeks ago, I sat in on a hearing that was happening with Marin Municipal Water District. And to tell you the truth, I was there about 3.5 hours. And to tell you the truth, I was appalled because some of the employees that testified admitted, it wasn't overtly, but admitted that they were coerced because if they didn't show up at the hearing, they would lose their job. Now, to me, that is unethical, and it's also, we're paying the water district's bills, and to me, we need to take a look at the ethics that's happening around the way they spend money. And besides, they spent thousands and thousands of dollars on a psychiatrist and attorneys. And anyway, to me, I can't mention any names, but except for the Marin Water District, Municipal Water District, and to me, it's unethical the way it was handled. We have an interesting guest this evening, Kate Levinson, PhD. This is the second segment with Kate Levinson and continuing our discussion from the first segment. Dr. Levinson brings more than 30 years of experience as a psychotherapist and an author to help others develop a positive awareness and healthy relationship with money. Her work with clients, blended with years of personal exploration into her own family's traumatic relationship with money, and her arrival at a place of understanding and healing, create the foundation for her book, Emotional Currency, A Woman's Guide to Building a Healthy Relationship with Money, and her workshops. A licensed marriage and family therapist in California, Kate holds a PhD in clinical psychology. She is a member and teaching and supervising faculty at the Psychotherapy Institute in Berkeley, California, and has taught and supervised students at John F. Kennedy University Graduate School of Clinical Psychology. She maintains a private practice in both Oakland and San Rafael, hosts emotional currency workshops throughout the United States, and is an expert contributor in behavioral economics on the blog of an online magazine, Psychology Today. Kate resides in the western part of Marin County, California, where she and her husband own and operate Point Reyes Books. Kate helps women and men discover, appreciate, and heal their often less than productive emotional relationships with money. She has learned and is now showing others that by gaining a deeper understanding of our direct experiences with money, we develop new insights into who we are and what we value, and we become able to start making new decisions. Money is powerful, an intimate mirror into ourselves and others, and the world we live in. She explains from both her personal and professional experiences, Kate has learned that how one deals with money is almost never devoid of emotional overtones, an intricate intertwining that must be understood to attain financial empowerment. unconditional love. And I'm going to say that till my dying day. Unconditional love.
There's a word that I really like to say is to become curious about who we are in relationship to money, you know?
Yeah,
which implies kind
yes.
of, I think, that getting out of the judgment makes. Then we can see, and we can come up with different resolutions or solutions.
Yes, and until you can see clearly, how can you resolve something? You really can't.
No.
So, like you said, having the willingness, the curiosity to look at that.
Yeah.
You know, when things aren't working the way you want them to, or way you think they should go, then you've got to take a look at it.
Yeah. And maybe we could say that that's interesting, because I don't use the terminology unconditional love, even though I think it's so powerful. But being curious and having compassion for the challenge, having compassion for the difficult situation that we're in,
and having compassion for yourself
Yes.
in that difficult situation.
Right.
That's where it stems from. That's where the root. Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah, and then we can look for help. You know,
Yes.
that's the other piece. I think that the shame and the fear keeps us feeling that we're the only ones. You know, we have to hide. We have to hide it, versus realizing that we all have our own challenges. And
everybody on this planet does.
Whether they have a gazillion dollars or not.
And you know what? Even Warren Buffett and Bill Gates, they all have challenges.
Yeah.
It's all relative.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, the more money you have, the more responsibility you have.
They're different challenges.
So, yeah, but everybody has
Right.
challenges.
And there's not a fair playing field here. There's not justice, but we have to somehow see, as you say, see what is true for us and find our way out.
And not blaming others.
Yes.
For our situation.
Yes. Feeling victimized.
You know, even when I was scammed, I realized, you know, and I worked through this pretty fast because I've done a lot of work, but I can't blame him. Yeah, it was evil what he did, but I have to look at myself, because I didn't trust myself. When I really look back at the beginning of when we, you know, intertwined with this business partnership, I didn't entirely trust it. And I trusted somebody else that I didn't trust, you know, 100%. So see, it all came back to, okay, me. I didn't trust myself. So looking at yourself in that.
And that it's easy to make mistakes around money. It's really, really easy, even if you're educated to. I had something happen recently where I thought, if it had been much worse, it would have been all the worse. You know, I mean, it was at a scale where I could learn from it, but it was so easy to not pay attention to what I was getting into. You know, because we.
And hopefully you didn't beat yourself up.
No. I mean, again, I think the sense of learning and compassion and knowing that it's not our idealized view of how we should handle money is unrealistic. We all bring our little pieces of paper to the accountant, you know, at tax time, or the equivalent of that. We all have our chaos, or the places that we need more learning about, you know.
And it can be complex, you know, in that, because, you know, I mean, I grew up in an entrepreneurial background, so I pay attention to keeping track, especially keeping track of things, you know, and where it goes, and incoming and outgoing. I'm you know, and not everybody pays attention to that.
And we haven't been taught.
No, and see, that's why the educational system is slowly changing. Yes. I want to get it in elementary schools. In fact, I taught a class in my daughter's elementary class about finances, and even doing a financial, you know, in the 4th grade. They need to have it in 1st grade. Even, you know, just start, because they're not learning it at home properly.
Well, when it dawned on me that we have sex education in the schools, but we have no financial literacy,
yes.
Again, it's a reflection of how resistant we are to
even
to empowering
reality.
one another.
Yes, exactly, the reality of it. Absolutely. I know that there's a woman in, well, you know Napoleon Hill?
No.
Well, he's an author. He's passed on, but he's very famous in the business world around money and the spiritual approach around money. And Outwitting the Devil is the last book. And his family wouldn't actually publish the book until last year because they were afraid of what the public would say and what they would do. I read the book. I couldn't put it down. I had to read it from front to back as fast as I could because the information is so powerful. He lost everything. Now, I always thought the man was a wealthy man, but he lost everything, just like Walt Disney, filed bankruptcy in Virgin Airlines. Sir Richard Branson has filed bankruptcy. And, a lot of the very successful people have had a lot of hardships. But getting back to this book, I was just amazed at the information that he came up with. And it all makes sense about how we are brainwashed through schools, through church, through government. We're brainwashed, and it's not healthy, and especially around money. It's not healthy. But it's the power control of the very few. And that's where the brainwashing, comes in, and people can compromise their value system. And this is what this show's about: is not compromising their integrity and their ethics around money, because there's more than enough. I don't know whether I shared this with you, but there's more than enough for everybody. There's 7 billion people, maybe a little bit more, on this planet. There's enough money circulating on this planet for everybody to have $8 to $10 million apiece, even the babies in Africa and India. That's how much money's circulating. But only, and this has changed, this statistic, only 3% of the population have 97% of the control of money. That, to me, is just...
Yes. Well, it does seem that the inequality of wealth is going to become a topic. How much will shift, how long it will take for things to shift. But
I just keep going at it because
that is huge.
It's huge, and that statistic just changed. So I'm just in the last 2 years, that's changed. It was 2% for many years, and because I keep track of that, and now it's 3%. So it is shifting. It is shifting slowly, and if we keep talking about it openly, then it will shift. It's like the domino effect. It's like having you on here, and because you talk about money, your relationship, the women's relationship, a guide, to money. It's, it isn't just women, it's men too. It's, well, we're shifting the paradigm. As women are shifting the paradigm now. So.
And I think the feminine moving into money, again, when it will take hold, we don't know, but just the movement's already happening, means that more of the values of the feminine, I write about that in the book, that the values of the feminine really have to do with concern for other people. It's not just about our having enough.
Me. It's about we.
Right.
We. Yes.
And money is such a graphic way of recognizing our connection to one another and our interdependency.
Yes.
And
that's healthy.
It is.
Because it gives each person, each entity, value when it's done in a healthy way.
And we can't do it alone. We can't
survive. Why would we want to do it alone? Why would we want to? That's not why we're here.
But that's much more the feminine, not so much male and female, but the feminine values.
Yeah, the yin. Yeah, absolutely. And so tell us more about some really good tidbits out of your
So the book really
gold nuggets out of your book.
Yeah, the book is really about looking at what contributes to our psychological relationship to money. So looking at money psychologically, recognizing that we're not our money, that money is just one aspect of our life, and looking at who influenced us, how we were influenced, what we were taught, what our experiences were, and then from a place of kind of seeing the lay of our own internal money land, healing what needs to be healed, and making choices. Because once we see what we've learned and what we've absorbed, we get to make some choices about who we are, how we want to continue on. So for instance, my seeing that money was not about life and death for me. That if I had always felt that if something catastrophic happened, that money would be what would save me. So on some level, I was always hoarding. I never felt like I had enough. Even though I would impulsively buy things, of course, but that I could. That
you were acting out the way you were raised,
right? And I couldn't decide to spend it. I just had to act it out.
Yeah.
Seeing that really wasn't, that hadn't saved my sister. That wasn't my experience in life, and that actually, what was going to help me when something hard happened in my life was my community, the people around me, the people who I loved and the people who loved me.
Love, 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 unconditional love.
And that love was a much stronger value. I held it in more value than I did money, which was, again, it's just so interesting that I hadn't really realized that money was so important to me, but underneath, it was determining a lot of the choices I was making in my life.
Wow, yeah, and that's very powerful. I mean, yes, it's nice to have money because it's also freedom to do the things and buy the things you want, but then there's a balancing act, you know. I mean, I'll share a little story. When I was 13, I think I was 13 or 14, my father was an engineer with Boeing, and I'll never forget this as long as I live, but I've internalized this for way too long. I came home from school, and my dad was sitting at the dinner table, and he's never home when I come home from school, and I'll never forget the look on his face. It was like he was dying or something, because he was laid off.
Yeah.
He was laid off because Boeing's had several layoffs, and he was laid off. And I internalized that. And it's because I was very close to my dad, and I didn't realize until just a few years ago that I held on to that. And it
And
got
in what way? How would you describe?
How can I describe it is that I guess there was a part of me that didn't feel that I deserved the money. Even though I've managed millions of dollars in my career, and I've had money, lots of money coming in, but I didn't feel the worthiness. I didn't feel, and I've looked at that many times and done some deep work around that.
But you identified with him and, and his pain.
Yes, and it was his pain, and Lord knows he wouldn't want me to suffer, you know, and I took it on, and I was unconscious of it for many years.
Right.
That I took it on, and I have given money out, you know, when I shouldn't have, or I did what I did, but it was part of that experience. I know that has been detrimental in my past. So
we all have so many of these associations and identifications and experiences.
And it's allowing us to work through it to be free.
And seeing them first, right?
Yeah, well,
because how many years you or I were operating from that place without any awareness?
Well, until you have a crisis, then how would you recognize it?
Right.
I mean, psychologically and emotionally, because it goes hand in hand.
Well, if we were having conversations, you know, if we were talking about money.
If it were open, yes.
If we could, you know, spend money buying something and then have lunch with a friend or whatever, a meeting with a friend, and
openly,
and talk about what was that feeling I felt when I just handed over the money to fix my car broke down,
Right.
or, you know, to pay my rent, or to pay my credit card debt. I couldn't come up with anything but the minimum. How did that feel? If it was in our
Yes,
conversation,
yes, I agree with you 100%.
where we didn't have to keep it all hidden, then we would, when we do that, I should say, when we do that, we're unburdened and we see so much more.
Yes, yes, and their freedom, it becomes a freedom until the next something else comes up to bring something else up.
Well, it's a continual, I mean, that's one of the things about money, is that money is not stagnant, right?
It's
always changing.
always,
It's
yes.
changing in the collective,
Always,
in the
always,
economy. It's
always.
changing how much we have.
And now it's changing the collective consciousness around it, the race consciousness around it. That is what this purpose and passion is. It's
Yes.
changing that.
Yes.
And
so
the
that
more we talk
can-
about it,
Yeah, and so we can have more congruity between what goes on inside and how we live, what we show other people. Because I think that's another tension, is that we feel like we're frauds, or we feel like we're not being honest with ourselves, with other people, if we pretend to have less than, you know, lots of people pretend to have less than they have.
yes,
They're
no, that's true. I
uncomfortable
know
with
it's,
having
it's,
more.
It's the there's the two dynamics
Yes.
there. Because I've known a billionaire who held on like this and
Right.
was tight as a
Can't use
tick.
it.
And then there's the other extreme who felt guilty for having so much.
Right, right.
So wow.
Or
getting
having, or, you know, with credit cards, we can appear to have what we don't have.
I mean, it's funny when I see a grand house and all these Mercedes and whatever. I think, now how much are they in debt? That's the first thing that comes
So
across my
interesting. Yeah.
mind. You know,
Yes.
is really reality. You know,
Uh-huh.
I mean, you know, especially in America, because it's like, just keep buying, and we have to stop it. The materialism just has to change. The mentality has to change.
And as you said, I think that everything around us feeds that desire for more, the compulsion for more. And so it takes internal reflection and strength to get ourselves off of that addiction, because it's in the air that we breathe.
Yeah, and it is an addiction.
And that, I mean, I can talk myself into it very easily as well, you know, even though I've scaled way back, but thinking, whether it's at the thrift store or Nordstrom's, it doesn't matter, thinking that this next thing that I buy is going to give me something, you know, not that there aren't plenty of things that actually I can use and I pleasure from, and, you know, food, of course.
Well, they say it takes, some theory is 21 days and some are 28 days to change a habit. So, you know, and sometimes it depends how deep the habit is, but I think generally speaking, if we can focus on changing this relationship, and like I say, you know, in fact I said earlier, you know, I whenever I speak in front of a group of people, I always say, how many of you have put on your mirror, your window, I love myself unconditionally? Because when you really love yourself, coming from that unconditional place, you're willing to look at yourself all the way through, so you can have healthy relationship with yourself, your money, everything, your body, your mind.
When you're less likely to think that that thing that you buy is going to give you that good feeling.
Absolutely,
right?
and it all starts from inside. And that takes real awareness, and that's why I say, wake up, wake up.
And so changing a habit, what I found is that people can put themselves on budgets, myself included, or we can say we're going to stop, but that invariably we fall back, we fall off the wagon in some way, and that's a really opportune moment to understand see if we can see underneath a little more what's driving the behavior, what's calling me to the boutique or to the thrift store, you know, the compulsion, what's driving it, and that we can have a lot of different ideas about what that is.
To rationalize.
Yes,
Yeah,
to rationalize, and also as we explore, we can have hypotheses about what this is giving us, but it's when we hit on the right answer or the right answers about what's driving us to shop compulsively or whatever it is, or make more money. When we arrive at the right answer, that the formula's right
in the mind and the
then
heart.
then it shifts.
Yeah,
Then it
absolutely.
we stop smoking, we stop buying.
Absolutely.
We can spend money or we can save money, whatever the behavior is that's
And it's
really
really
bothering
interesting
us.
because I was raised, in an entrepreneurial environment, so I always learned way back, you buy for need. I don't even like shopping, actually. I only do it because I have a need.
Yes.
I'm just not into that.
Yes.
What they say is a feminine quality or not a quality, but I just, so I've always come from that place. So I have no problem with that. It's just learning to trust. Learning to trust.
Learning to trust yourself
Yes.
around the decisions.
Yes, on the bigger decisions, Well, the smaller, you got to start with the small, because if you can't handle the small, then how can you handle the bigger amounts? So, well.
So I guess it's also about finding where we're vulnerable, that,
yes.
that some of us can.
Well, it's being aware, it's really being aware and wanting.
Where are we blind?
And wanting to be aware. If there's anything that you can share that, I know you've already given some wonderful tips.
I think it's just beginning wherever we are. When you were talking about becoming more aware, we all have awareness and we all have blind spots. And so to not judge ourselves,
yes.
and to be wherever we are and have the courage, because it takes courage.
It takes a lot of courage.
To see what is without judgment.
And what is not without judgment.
And then to just like with any skill we're developing, learning how to cook, we do it, and sometimes the cakes fall flat and sometimes they rise up and are beautiful, and to continue the process of learning to bring creative growth to our relationship with money.
And it's like that little train. I think I can, I think I can, I think I can, I know I can, I know I can. We just keep doing that in everything that we're doing in our life, to keep that flow going.
Yeah, the flow.
It's a flow.
The flow of money.
Keep
It's really to bring fresh air and light into our relationship.
Yes, absolutely. And trusting that.
Yeah.
And I want everybody to heal on that level. So, Kate, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you. I'll leave you with this. Love and compassion are necessities, not luxuries. Without them, humanity cannot survive. By the Dalai Lama. Never give up for your pursuit of your purpose and passion, and even if you don't know what that is, work with integrity and have a positive attitude wherever you work, and especially with your family and your friends. Be grateful for what you have, who you are, and be grateful for your freedom. And eat healthy. Good nutrition feeds the mind and your body temple. And don't forget to exercise. Move your body, feed your spirituality with meditation and prayer, with unconditional love, and firstly, love yourself unconditionally, and share your abundance and wealth with others. Thanks for watching. Please support Marin TV that brings these messages. And remember, when fear knocks, let faith answer the door. Bye for now, until the next time.